Welcome back to my channel. I apologize immensely for how long of a wait it's been this time. That is not because I have not been trying and exhausting every chance to record this review. It's been highly anticipated for me. I tried to do a deep dive review. However, every format I've tried to record this on keeps getting corrupted files, so we're not doing a deep dive. And at this point, Final Destination Bloodlines is out on streaming, so if you haven't seen it, go see it, because I'll go ahead and get the grading and everything out of the way. It is an A. I love this movie. I've seen it at least twice now, and that's what we're going to be reviewing is Final Destination Bloodlines. It is an hour and 49 minutes. It was released in May 16th, 2025. Directors are Zach Liposky and Adam Stein. Studios, New Line Cinema, Warner Brothers. I wrote my own synopsis because I wasn't a fan of the one on Google. So this is an origin story of the Final Destination timeline dating back to the 50s of a woman named Iris Campbell and how death follows the bloodlines of those who survived. It stars Brec Bassinger as Iris Campbell, Richard Harmon as Erik Campbell, Tio Briones as Charlie Lewis, and if you don't recognize him, he was in season 1 of the Chucky TV show. So it's great to see him back. Kaitlyn Santa Juana as Stefani Lewis, Owen Joyner as Bobby Campbell, April Telek as Aunt Brenda, Alex Zahara as Howard Campbell, and of course, the late and great Tony Todd as William John Bludworth. So this film, I'm just going to mention the main points, such as like the opening scene with the train track, that you're basically looking, how are these callbacks, what's the premonition going to be like, and I'm not going to do a tier list because I might at the end give my opinion on which one's the best, which one's the worst in the franchise. But even the opening shot with the railroad, I was thinking Billy from the second, nope, from the first Final Destination, and I was thinking it was going to be a train, but it's actually a skyline that ends up being the premonition. And of course, the music always plays a big factor. So, them playing Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire, I was already like, fire. The skyline is a cylinder ring type of ordeal, so I was like, Ring of Fire. And sure enough, that's the big premonition. The funny parts about that is when they're going up the elevator, is it's not funny, it's ironic because the guy allows them to in, her and her fiance, and Iris and her fiance, and he's like, oh yeah, it can only hold up to 8 people. There's definitely more than 8 people. The door's shut like this, and he's like, don't worry, this happens all the time. This is opening night. What do you mean all the time? And then also he said that it got done 5 months prior. It's like, or 5 months in advance. It's like, that is not a good thing. So they go up there, and my two complaints about characters that could have been in the film, or at least mentioned a little more, is the first one being when her fiance tells the host, I have connections. A friend told us that we have arrangements here. He's like, no, we let that person go this morning. It's like, it would have been nice to have at least seen a scene of him talking to him on the phone about the arrangements for them to go or something like that. We never meet that character. But there's also a little boy who pulls a penny out of the well. And my thing is, if this is not called Final Destination Bloodlines, an alternative name I came up for it is Final Destination Petty Penny, because he pulls a penny from the well, and this penny is pretty petty. Again, I'm not going to go beat by beat. We find out that she's pregnant because the singer who snuck her child in, she asks her if she's pregnant, and she's like, yeah, a couple months. So they go out for some fresh air. Iris and her fiance go out for fresh air, and that's where he proposes to her. And while he's proposing, she notices that same little boy who pulled the petty penny out of the well. He's throwing petty pennies over the the building, and he eventually throws one last one, the Petty Penny, and Petty Penny takes a journey down into the vents and gets stuck. And it's like, oh, shit's gonna happen. They go back out on the dance floor to celebrate their their news about being pregnant and being engaged. And it's playing the song, oh, it makes me want to shout, put your hands up and shout. And they're all jumping on the glass, and the glass already had the crack in it. So it's a very intense scene. Well, they all end up falling to their death, and there's even a scene, it becomes kind of like Titanic. Her fiance ends up falling and hitting his head, kind of like the guy on Titanic who hit his head on the propeller. But the building starts breaking in half, and she tries to help a woman, but she lands at the bottom of it, and it's just going to take one thing to crack the whole thing. And there's a piano way up top, and Petty Penny is like, heads, I'm going to land this piano and cause havoc, or tails, maybe nothing will happen. Of course, it's going to land on heads, and the piano goes crashing down. And this movie really messes with jewelry, because her engagement ring, when Iris tries to save the little boy, the singer's son, she gets stuck on the side of the building, and the only thing holding her up is her engagement ring. And if you guys can tell, I don't know if it can show completely, but I'm wearing a silicone wedding ring. And that's because my wedding ring, my husband and I wear the one true ring from Lord of the Rings, and it is made out of metal. I had an accident earlier in the year. I'm not going to say what the accident was, but yeah, my fingers got pretty messed up. And on this finger specifically, they had to cut the wedding ring off. And if you can tell, that part right there, it was completely open. Like, flesh was showing, the meat was showing. And so they had to pry the ring off while going in, like, opening it back up, basically. It was horrible. It was painful. Out of having a stag kidney stone the size of a baseball and giving birth, the wedding ring was definitely the worst for me, personally. But there's kind of a scene, but Iris has it worse. She gets completely degloved with her wedding ring. So, yeah, mine actually isn't that bad. Well, the one thing that really annoyed me about this film was the actual main character, because when she comes out from the premonition, it comes out from a different point of view, and that already annoyed the heck out of me. I didn't even know the girl. I didn't even know that how her acting abilities were going to be. I just was already annoyed because I got so used to Iris. Well, this is Stefani, who is her granddaughter. So basically, this is going to go down the bloodlines of because I guess they're throwing out the second story plot, where if new life comes, that ends Death's curse. I guess they're throwing that out because now Death is like, oh, new life came, you shouldn't be here, I'm gonna wipe the whole bloodline out. So as Stephanie was explaining that, I was either annoyed with the actress and thinking it sounded stupid, or it just sounds stupid, and I guess by the end I just had to kind of deal with it. I don't know. To me at first, was very annoyed with the concept. Another thing that annoyed me was Iris, when she's older, the death trap house, very much like Laurie Strode. And knowing later on, we find out that Bludworth helped her safe-proof this house. But it's like, the one character that lived the longest after safe-proofing themselves was Clear River, and she didn't go into a death trap. She went into a padded room. Go into a padded room, and there still can be something that happens. I think something that could have escalated this movie to make it better, just like how I wish they had shown one scene of the friend that got them into the sky view, would have been one scene of a character named Jerry Finberry. Yeah, Jerry Finberry. And after Iris's passes, which Iris's death is my favorite one, I knew something was going to happen with the fire hydrant, and she's like, well, seeing is believing. And the little north, south, east, and west sign falls down, hits the fire extinguisher, boom, just straight through her face. This wasn't 3D, but damn, that was brutal. Really set the tone, too. But they go to a barbecue to honor her life, and that's the scene. I didn't watch any trailers for this, which made my experience that much better because I had no idea what was going to happen. But we find out, well, there's a character named Erik, and he's the funniest character in this. But I wish they could have just added one scene, kind of like Home Improvement, just a little nerdy guy or maybe weirdo, just poke his head over the gate, the fence, and go like, hey, Erik, Erik. And it's like, dude, why does Jerry Finberry always have to be annoying? And I say that because when we get revealed, Erik goes under a trap as well. So Howard dies at the barbecue. Uncle Howard, he passes at the barbecue because it's going down a bloodline. So the oldest kid is next, which that's Erik. And we have a whole tattoo parlor scene. It's kind of a cop out, but he survives that. And then he kind of really messes with death by, he kind of almost gets hit by a truck, and then he began to feel invincible. So he starts like messing around with a dumpster truck. And that scene was kind of funny because as they're explaining in the foreground, like, oh, that's not coming after our family, the sister in the background who's running gets yeeted to a trash can. But the way she died was not funny because homegirl got her whole face crushed. That would be, no, Iris is the second one. The face crushed sister would be the third one. But they go back to the house, and it's like, why didn't Erik was next. Why didn't Erik die? Why was it the crushed face sister? That's because Aunt Brenda reveals that Erik is not really Howard's son. And this really did land, but even in reaction channels right now watching it, as soon as this scene happens, everyone's like, who? And they could have just fixed that with just one little scene of Jerry Finberry poking his head over like da 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 da. And it's like, hey, why is Jerry Finberry always here? That way when this gets revealed, well, who's my dad? Jerry Finberry? This actor who plays Erik did so good that even without the scene of Jerry Finberry poking his head, or like even knowing who this guy was, or why we are so grossed out Jerry Finberry is his actual dad, he did act it out so well that we don't need the scene. But I personally would have liked to have known what's up with Jerry Finberry. But he's so funny. He's like, Jerry Finberry, oh. And as he's leaving, he's like, is that why you always wanted to play catch? I swear, Erik was the best thing about this scene. Well, so Erik survives. The sister got crushed in the dumpster. So now it's Bobby. And Bobby is my favorite character in this. He was the sweetest little guy. And he's like, I'll go with you guys because they're going to go find the other survivor of the premonition, Iris's premonition. She saved the little boy in the beginning, the singer's son. So they're like, initials JB, who works in a hospital. And in my head, I'm like, I know who this is. He no longer works at a mortuary. He works at a hospital. So they go to the autopsy room in the hospital where we see the late and great Tony Todd as, now I guess we can call him the late and great William John Bludworth. And he explains that he was the little boy that Iris saved. So this answers so many questions. And my main point, if I can just finish or wrap it up at this point, is just this film was not about Stefani. This film was not about Iris. This film was about the origin of William John Bludworth. He is not death. All these years, all this time, since the first film, we've been thinking he is death. And he's not. He was a little boy who just survived a premonition. Like, in his goodbye speech, I did not cry during it because he says he knows the character Bludworth has cancer, and at the time Tony Todd had cancer, and he's passed before the film came out. So it was really emotional to watch this. But again, I didn't cry during the film because the film's so fast paced. You feel it. You're like, oh man, and then it goes on. But I'll tell you when I cried. But he says, I plan to enjoy the rest of my time. Enjoy, and he looks straight down the barrel of the camera and he says, enjoy every second. You never know when. Good luck. And yes, I had a lump in my throat, but for me, it wasn't until the very end of the film when it says, in memory of Tony Todd. And I cried in the theater, I cried in the car, and then I cried when I got home. I'm fine now. It's been so many times I've talked about this, and in the first take of this, I was bawling still, so I even bawled at the beginning of this. But I filmed this so many times, I'm okay. Um, but Bobby's next, and so Erik's like, hey, they learned that Kimberly, this might, oh, I said we'd wrap it up with Bludworth, but no, we're going to wrap it up with Kimberly because I have a huge question. So Kimberly's the only known survivor because she, in the second one, drowned, right, in the ambulance car. And she flatlined and they're able to resuscitate her. My question to that is why was she able to get to the point where she was able to end her timeline and stop her heart, attempt to do that? Because in the second one, Eugene spent all 6 rounds trying to end his timeline. And then George, in the fourth one, he said he spent all day trying to end his timeline, but death would not let them. And you see later, Bobby and Erik tried to do the same thing. Let's just flatline you. And Death is like, nah, my watch. And yeah, again, piercings, jewelry. At first, the ring gave me PTSD. His septum ring, when Erik originally was about to die, I have a backstory about my septum ring. I had one back in 2013. The piercer said it looked terrible, so I didn't want to go around with the terrible one because it's way too big for my small face. So it is like big. So I went in the car and I took it out and I bled and it still hurts to this day. So that scene, I was just like, just take it out, just fucking take it out. It'll hurt, but you'll live. Just take it the fuck out. But but now his septum goes into the MRI because the MRI machine is on, and their idea is Bobby is allergic to nuts, so they give him a peanut butter cup. And at first he's like, oh, it tastes good, but then eventually he goes into anaphylactic shock. And their idea is they're going to flatline him to go to the hospital to get to the ER to get resuscitated. But once he starts having an allergic reaction, Erik's like, oh, come on, man, you know, like, blah, blah. I don't know. He just wasn't going. And I was like, get him to the ER. But I guess he had to wait till he flatlined. I don't know. But the MRI is cranking up because Death is cranking it up. And so Erik's earrings go, his septum goes. We find out he has nipple rings. And then we find out he has a Johnson ring because it starts rising up. And you're like, oh. But we don't see the Johnson ring go in. And the wheelchair that he took from a little older lady, and when he sat down, he's like, you have much time left? I swear he's the funniest in this. But his time ends because the wheelchair drags him into the MRI and he gets completely like crunched, like completely crunched backward. It was insane. And then Bobby, when he stands up, the magnetism's so high that it's taking the spiral from the peanut butter cups. And instead of moving, he stands right in front of the MRI. He doesn't move to the left or to the right. And it goes into his head and kills him. And I was so sad because I love Bobby. And he loved his turtle. He's such a sweet little guy. But anyway, then we have a scene with Darlene, Stefani, and Charlie. They're the last ones to be there. But they have a stupid idea. They're like, oh, we're just going to go to Iris's house. Well, Iris's house is a death trap. So basically they all almost die. Stefani drowns, and Charlie resuscitates her. But as we find out later, from her date's father, who's a doctor, he's like, just because you gave her CPR doesn't mean she flatlined. So this kind of bursts their bubble because they're like, wait a minute, that means it's not broken. The round's not broken, which that actually puts a hole into the second one as well because Kimberly was the last one to have survived the traffic premonition. So all of them would have died except for her. So how does she know she actually broke Death's plan if she was the last one to have lived anyway? Anyway, but they realized they didn't do anything, and so Petty Penny comes back because the old lady who's like, oh, do you have much time left? I hope. She finds it, buys a cookie, and Petty Penny runs away and gets stuck in the train tracks. The train trips over it, and Charlie's date was actually wearing the exact same dress as Iris, and they're on the same street as Iris and her date. were on in the opening scene. Well, the train comes bursting through, and of course, they have the log truck behind it, and Stefani gets up and says the dumbest thing. She's like, well, that was close, and then the logs just smush them like bugs. She said stupid stuff like when Erik was was having his scenario in the tattoo shop burning. She's texting him, "Did it get you yet?" I don't know. She just was infuriating. But besides Stefani, and realizing this story is about William John Bludworth, I love this film. If I were to do a film ranking, it would be my least favorite would be 4. I did like the edit of the skeletons instead of their x-ray versions as they're dying in that very final scene. I liked it, but not many people did. But I liked 4. And then, let's see, that would be my 6th place one. My 5th place would be... My 5th place, I'm sorry, it's going to be 3. I didn't really care for the roller coaster. I know Mary Elizabeth Winstead was, I guess, a really big deal back then, but to me, she was just as flatline as all the other main characters. The only main character that's been great has been Alex, in my opinion. But my 4th one would be the 5th film. I love that wraparound that he is going on to plane Flight 180 at the end of it. The only thing with that is that he's trying his best to like have everyone believe his premonition. So when he sees Alex freaking out, he's like, that's weird. It's like, what? Like, believe that shit. But 3rd place would be the 2nd film, because I really feel like this franchise created the fear of log trucks behind you, and they even had that as the promotion of Bloodlines. So they know what they were doing. But I don't understand why Kimberly was so special. If anybody knows, let me know why she was able to cheat death and nobody else was, because if you mess with death, it gets messy. So why didn't it get messy for her? Why did it stop George and Eugene from ending their timeline, but it allowed her to? I don't understand that. If anyone knows, please let me know. 2nd place, Final Destination Bloodlines. Loved it. It was great. It was great to be back in the franchise and knowing it is, for me, about William John Bludworth. And another reaction channel said they could still honor him even in the 7th by showing his obituary, and that would really honor William Bludworth and Tony Todd. So I'm like, that's a great idea. And then of course, coming in at number 1 is Final Destination, the very first one. It was just absolutely amazing watching that film. But the first one was just absolutely great. We got great characters. Alex was the best original character, main character, and I just really love that one. So you guys let me know what your ranking is. No judgments on anyone's ranking. What did you like about Final Destination Bloodline? And look forward to another review really soon, because I'm going to be also getting on top of filming 2 more. Next review is Bring Her Back, so stay tuned. We also have another one that I just saw, which is pretty new, so hopefully I won't be too late for that one. So thanks guys, I really appreciate y'all's support. Also, one very last thing, I am thinking about changing this channel to something again. So if anyone would miss my reviews, please let me know, because I might just start a whole new channel. But I do have an idea that has nothing to do with films for a channel, either this channel as a revamp or starting a whole new one. Just let me know if you like my film reviews, or if you would like to see different content. So please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Bye. Y'all take care now.